Learn English through stories. Leo understood English perfectly when he read or listened, every word slotting neatly into place within his mind. Yet, when it came to speaking, a heavy, invisible chain seemed to bind his tongue. He knew the grammar, the vocabulary, the idioms, but the words refused to flow freely, remaining trapped behind a wall of apprehension. This was his daily struggle. This inability to articulate his thoughts verbally gnawed at him constantly. Social gatherings became silent observances where he nodded politely, feigning understanding, while his mind raced, desperately formulating replies that never left his lips. He yearned to engage, to share his opinions, but the fear of making a mistake paralyzed him completely, silencing his voice. Every morning, facing the day, the same question lingered: how do other people talk in English so effortlessly? He observed colleagues chatting animatedly, tourists asking for directions with natural ease, and friends laughing heartily during conversations. Their fluency seemed a magical, unattainable gift, intensifying his own my daily day's struggle with spoken communication. He often rehearsed conversations in his head, crafting witty remarks and insightful comments, only for them to vanish the moment a real opportunity arose. The gulf between his comprehension and his articulation felt like an insurmountable canyon. He understood English perfectly, but the act of speaking remained an elusive, frustrating puzzle, a constant source of quiet despair. Leo knew how to learn English involved more than just passive listening. He consumed countless articles and videos offering talking tips, advising on pronunciation, intonation, and building confidence. He absorbed the theory, but bridging the gap from understanding to spontaneous speech felt like stepping off a cliff without a parachute, terrifying and daunting. He'd tried various methods, from practicing tongue twisters to memorizing phrases, yet the moment he faced a native speaker, his mind would blank, his throat would tighten, and the familiar wave of panic would wash over him. His internal monologue was fluent, articulate, but his external expression remained frustratingly mute, a constant source of his daily struggle. One particularly disheartening evening, after failing to contribute to a lively group discussion, Leo felt a profound sense of isolation. He had understood every joke, every nuance, but couldn't muster a single word. He desperately wanted to how to talk to anyone in English without this debilitating fear, to truly connect and express himself freely. He sat alone, scrolling aimlessly through his phone, when an article caught his eye: Learn English through stories, unlock your speaking potential. The headline promised a gentle, less intimidating approach, focusing on immersion and natural language acquisition. He felt a tiny spark of hope ignite within him, a possibility he hadn't considered before. The article suggested starting with simple narratives, listening repeatedly, and then trying to retell them in his own words. This felt like a manageable, how-to-take first step for talking, not a direct confrontation with a fluent speaker, but a guided rehearsal. He decided to give this new, intriguing method a genuine, concerted effort. Leo began by choosing short, engaging audio stories designed for learners. He would listen English intently, focusing not just on the words, but on the storyteller's rhythm, their pauses, and their intonation. He listened to the same story dozens of times, letting the sounds and patterns embed themselves deeply within his subconscious mind. After absorbing a story, he would pause the audio and attempt to summarize it aloud. His initial attempts were halting, filled with ums and ahs, but he persisted. The process felt less like a test and more like a playful exercise, a safe space where mistakes were part of the learning journey, not reasons for self-criticism. He recorded his own voice retelling the stories, then played them back, comparing his pronunciation and flow to the original. It was often painful to listen to his own hesitant voice, but this self-reflection provided invaluable talking tips. He identified specific sounds and word connections he needed to improve, making his practice focused and effective. This consistent practice, retelling stories and analyzing his speech, gradually started to chip away at his speaking anxiety. He realized that the vocabulary and grammar he understood English so well were now being activated for productive output, making the transition from passive knowledge to active use much smoother and less intimidating for him. The stories provided context, making new words and phrases easier to remember and use. He wasn't just memorizing lists, he was absorbing language in meaningful, relatable scenarios. This organic approach allowed him to understand how other people talk in English, not just academically, but intuitively, building a strong foundation for fluent communication. As his confidence grew within the confines of his room, Leo realized the next crucial step was applying these skills in real-world interactions. He understood that true progress lay beyond his comfort zone, confronting the very fear that had paralyzed him for so long, and making actual connections with native speakers. His first real-world how to take first step for talking was simple: ordering coffee. He practiced the exact phrase in his head repeatedly, visualizing the interaction. When the moment came, his heart pounded, but the words, though a little shaky, came out. The barista understood, and that small success felt monumental. Encouraged, he began extending these small interactions. A brief thank you to a bus driver, asking for prices in a shop, making a simple inquiry. Each successful exchange, no matter how brief, chipped away at his long-held fear. He discovered that most people were patient and understanding, easing his ongoing, my daily days struggle. Leo started observing how other people talk in English in public settings. He noticed their natural pauses, their use of filler words, their nonverbal cues. He realized that fluent speech wasn't about perfect grammar or complex sentences, but about conveying meaning effectively and building rapport through natural conversation flow. He actively sought opportunities to engage. He joined a local book club that discussed literature in English. The first few meetings were challenging, with him contributing only a few hesitant sentences. Yet, the desire to participate fully pushed him forward, motivating him to overcome his deep-seated hesitation. He learned valuable talking tips from the group members themselves, who encouraged him to focus on getting his message across, rather than striving for absolute grammatical perfection. They emphasized that authentic communication often prioritized clarity and connection over flawless linguistic execution, which was a huge relief for him. Slowly, his sentences grew longer, his pauses became less frequent, and his vocabulary expanded naturally through context. He found himself thinking directly in English more often, bypassing the cumbersome process of mental translation. The language started to feel less like a foreign code and more like an extension of his own thoughts. The "I understand English but I can't speak well" mantra that had plagued him for years began to fade. He wasn't fluent by any means, but he was speaking, actively participating, and most importantly, connecting with people. The barrier between his understanding and his expression was steadily crumbling, replaced by burgeoning confidence. Leo realized that how to talk to anyone in English wasn't a magic formula, but a combination of consistent effort, active listening, and a willingness to embrace imperfection. Every stumble, every mispronounced word, was merely a stepping stone on his path to greater fluency, a valuable learning experience in itself. He continued to learn English through stories, using them as a foundation for understanding cultural nuances and natural conversation patterns. The narratives helped him internalize idiomatic expressions and common conversational phrases, making his spoken English sound more authentic and less like textbook language, which was truly transformative. His My Daily Day's struggle transformed into a daily journey of small victories. Each successful conversation, each shared laugh, each new connection forged in English, fueled his motivation. He saw progress not just in his linguistic abilities, but in his overall confidence and willingness to engage with the world around him. He started consciously practicing how to take first step for talking in new situations, whether it was asking a stranger for recommendations or engaging in brief exchanges at the grocery store. These mini challenges became opportunities for growth, pushing him gently beyond his established comfort zone, expanding his conversational repertoire continually. The fear of judgment, once so overwhelming, gradually receded as he encountered supportive listeners. He understood that most people admired the effort, not just the flawless delivery. This shift in perspective liberated him, allowing him to speak more freely and spontaneously, without the constant self-monitoring that previously hampered him. He also paid more attention to listen English actively, not just passively. He focused on native speakers' emphasis, their linking words, and their speed. This enhanced listening comprehension, in turn, improved his own spoken rhythm and intonation, making his speech sound more natural and easier for others to understand. Leo found that engaging in diverse topics helped him expand his vocabulary and ability to express complex ideas. He wasn't just talking about daily routines, he was discussing abstract concepts, sharing opinions on current events, and even debating playfully, pushing his linguistic boundaries further with each spirited interaction. The sheer joy of finally being able to articulate his thoughts in English, to participate fully in conversations, was immeasurable. It was a liberation he had long craved, a feeling of finally breaking free from the silent prison of his own mind, allowing his true personality to shine through without reservation or fear. He often thought back to his initial despair, the feeling of being trapped by his own limitations. Now, looking at how far he had come, he felt immense pride. His journey was a testament to the power of perseverance and the effectiveness of a gradual, consistent approach to language acquisition, inspiring him onward. Leo began to offer his own talking tips to friends and acquaintances facing similar challenges. He shared his story, emphasizing the importance of starting small, embracing mistakes, and finding joy in the process. His advice stemmed from first-hand experience, making it relatable and highly effective for others trying to improve. He encouraged them to learn English through stories as a non-intimidating entry point, highlighting how narratives build context and natural phrasing. He stressed that understanding language in a story form helped bridge the gap between knowing words and actually using them in a meaningful, coherent, and practical way. How other people talk in English became less about comparison and more about inspiration. He observed their techniques, not to mimic perfectly, but to integrate elements that felt natural to his own developing style. This observation fueled his learning, providing realistic models for his ongoing linguistic development and growth. His transformation was profound. From a hesitant, silent observer, he had become a confident communicator, eager to engage. The "I understand English but I can't speak well" hurdle was no longer an obstacle but a distant memory, replaced by a vibrant, active engagement with the English-speaking world and all its possibilities. He even started dreaming in English sometimes, a clear sign of deep immersion and growing fluency. His brain was processing the language more organically, without the conscious effort of translation. This milestone affirmed his progress and encouraged him to continue his dedicated, ongoing learning journey enthusiastically. The sense of accomplishment was not just about mastering a language, it was about overcoming a personal barrier. His struggle with English had been a struggle with self-doubt, and by conquering it, he had unlocked a new level of confidence that permeated all aspects of his life, making him feel truly empowered. He reflected on this simple beginning, how to take first step for talking. It was never about a grand leap, but a series of tiny, brave steps. Each single word spoken, each sentence attempted, built the foundation for the confident communicator he was becoming, little by little, day by day. The advice to listen English actively proved invaluable. By truly hearing the nuances of native speech, he refined his own pronunciation and intonation, making his spoken English much clearer and more natural. This deep listening practice enhanced his speaking ability remarkably, a crucial step in his overall progress. His daily day's struggle had indeed been real, filled with frustration and moments of despair. But those struggles were precisely what forged his resilience and determination. They became the fuel for his unwavering commitment to practice, turning obstacles into opportunities for growth and self-improvement tirelessly. He learned that fluency wasn't about eradicating accents or achieving native-like perfection, but about effective communication and genuine connection. It was about making himself understood and understanding others, building bridges through language, and embracing his unique voice in the process, which was truly empowering. The entire process reinforced the idea that language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. There were days of rapid progress and days of frustrating plateaus, but consistency was key. He celebrated every small victory, knowing that each one contributed to his long-term goal of effortless conversation and interaction. Leo's story became an example, demonstrating that "I understand English but I can't speak well" is a temporary phase, not a permanent state. With dedication, strategic practice, and a shift in mindset, anyone can transform their passive understanding into active, confident, and engaging spoken communication with others. He now truly knew how to talk to anyone in English, not because he had a secret formula, but because he had built up his confidence and practiced consistently. The secret lay in breaking down the fear, starting small, and building momentum through countless authentic interactions, one brave conversation at a time. His journey was a reminder that the biggest barrier to speaking English is often not a lack of knowledge, but a fear of failure in judgment. By confronting that fear head-on, through gentle, persistent exposure, he unlocked his potential and discovered a voice he never knew he possessed fully. He still encountered new words and complex structures, but now he approached them with curiosity rather than intimidation. Learning became a continuous, enjoyable process, not a daunting task. His passion for English had grown exponentially, fueled by the satisfaction of using it effectively in daily life. The ripple effect of his transformation was evident. Friends saw his confidence, his willingness to converse, and were inspired to tackle their own speaking anxieties. He became a living testament to the fact that speaking English fluently is an achievable goal for everyone, regardless of their starting point or past struggles. His life was richer, his opportunities more abundant, all because he decided to overcome his speaking barrier. He could now connect with people from diverse backgrounds, access a wider range of information, and express his true self more fully than ever before, which was incredibly rewarding for him. The key takeaways from Leo's experience: learn English through stories for gentle immersion, how other people talk in English for real-world models, talking tips for practical strategies, and most importantly, bravely taking that how to take first step for talking repeatedly, every single day. He realized the core message: I understand English but I can't speak well, is a common phase, not a final destination. With intentional practice and a focus on output, anyone can bridge that gap and discover the joy of fluent, confident communication, connecting with the world around them. His journey, a testament to resilience, showed that every small attempt counts. The cumulative effect of minor improvements leads to major breakthroughs. It's about building a consistent habit, not waiting for a magical solution, truly embracing the process, and seeing results over time. Leo often reflected that the true learning happened outside the classroom, in real interactions, in the courage to make mistakes. He was no longer just studying English, he was living it, breathing it, and using it as a vital tool to navigate his world and share his unique voice. He now looked forward to conversations, rather than dreading them. Each new person he met, each new topic explored, was an exciting opportunity to practice and grow. The English language had transformed from a source of anxiety into a wellspring of connection and endless personal discovery. His story resonated deeply, a beacon of hope for countless others grappling with similar speaking anxieties. It proved that consistent effort, combined with practical strategies like Listen English and embracing imperfections, truly unlocks the power of spoken communication for anyone dedicated. From silent understanding to confident articulation, Leo's journey underscored a universal truth: the path to fluency is paved with small, brave steps. His daily struggles evolved into daily triumphs, proving that anyone can learn English and speak it well, given patience and persistent dedication.